night, everybody. See you tomorrow.
Good night, dear.
Drive safe. Oh, don't worry about it.
Good night, folks.
Good night, Cassie. Good day's work.
Thank you. Bye tomorrow.
Kurt, you don't have to tell me. I'll help any way I can. Just tell me your problem.
Well, Gwen, wouldn't you say I'm a pretty self-confident sort of guy? Huh?
Well, not when you have to ask. Oh, but usually, yes. You're a regular drum major.
Well,
Good night.
Good night, Norm.
Right now, I'm supposed to be beating the drum on this big project, and every time I sit down to write, I lose my self-confidence. I keep finding excuses to leave the office.
Help me with the cups, will you?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about this project. What is it?
Well, it's a proposal for a program our production company wants to do. It's called The Cycle of Fashion, and it's supposed to show the cycle of supply and demand for high fashion designs.
Ooh, sounds exciting.
Well, it is. But the proposal has to have some style and flair of its own if I'm going to get top designers to participate.
Well, Kurt, you've been around here long enough to know that one of the first commandments is know what you want to say.
I know that. I've done my research. I've organized my material. And everything I write just doesn't have any pizzazz.
Pizzazz.
Yeah, pizzazz, you know. It's dull, it's flat, it's got no style.
Kurt, you can sell anything, right? Now, the elements of good writing aren't so different from the elements of good selling. In fact, they're both very similar to the elements of classic fashion.
They are?
Uh-huh. Clarity, emphasis, and variety.
Well, I don't know if my first draft has any clarity or emphasis, but it is one mess of variety. I mean, the ideas are all just tangled up. Sometimes I don't even know what I'm saying.
It can't be all that bad.
No, but the parts that are clear are about as dull as last week's French fries. Gwen, I'm a talker, not a writer.
Well, have you tried counting the words in your sentences?
Counting the words?
Uh-huh.
What for?
Well, the length of your sentences is a major contributor to style. And if something sounds long and confusing, it may be because it is long and confusing.
Oh, so I should shorten my sentences.
Maybe. The professional writer's average sentence length is 20 words, give or take a couple, but that's not every sentence, though.
Well, go on.
Well, some sentences are shorter to emphasize a point. Others are longer, more complicated to get across a more complicated idea.
Oh, I get it. Short, long.
So,
short,
if you want to
long.
improve this proposal of yours, working on the variety of the sentences is the way to do it.
Oh, come on, Gwen. Counting words sounds so picky. I can't believe that writers pay that much attention to each sentence.
Good. Writers who succeed pay careful attention to each word. And if you're looking for style and polish in your proposal, then improving sentences is the way to do that.
Okay, I'll do it. I will try counting words.
Good.
Now, what else?
Why don't you sit in on our session at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning? Our next show will be on sentence patterns, and we'll be going over a lot of points. Would you mind?
Oh, no.
Like how different sentences create different effects, how to use concrete subjects with active verbs, how to judge if one
Gwen,
sentence
you're
is...
losing me. I just don't think this old brain can deal with that much.
Well, that's why I'm inviting you to sit in with us tomorrow, so that you'll understand. And Kurt, bring your proposal with you.
Okay.
Norm,
Yeah.
do something for me?
Uh-huh.
How about bringing the monitor over to this end of the carpet for me, would you? Kurt should be here any minute, and then we can get going.
Now I know why you want me to move it.
Oh, here he is.
Hello.
Well, how did it go?
Well, it was tough, but here it is in all its glory.
Gwen tells us you've come to beg a few pearls.
I did not say
It's
that.
all
I
right,
said...
Gwen. Norm, you're right. Pearls are what I came for, but all I can see is a clam with a big mouth.
Okay, you two. Let's get down to business. In research with students at Miami University, Dr. Andrew Carrick has found that training in working with sentences definitely improves the overall quality of writing. In this interview with Dr. Carrick, he explains the importance of sentence structure.
Well, working with sentences is terribly important. I mean, let's face it. You do not have language without sentences. As soon as you begin to use language, whether in speaking or writing, you use sentences. You can't even really utter a thought without putting that thought in the form of sentences. So when you want to help students learn writing, obviously the sentence is a terribly basic unit that you have to pay attention to. There are many other things in writing, obviously, but the sentence you cannot get away from. This is a recognition that led us at Miami University to researching the use of practice with sentences by the method that's known as sentence combining as a way to enhance the writing skills and writing abilities of college freshmen. In a study that we did a few years ago, in which we compared students learning by a traditional method and students learning writing by a sentence combining method, the latter group ended up writing papers that were both in quality and in quantity significantly better and higher than those in the other group.
Well,
I think we ought to write Dr. Carrick into our script.
I think he really gets at why a beginning writer needs to pay attention to sentences.
Yeah. So, Kurt, did that help you?
Oh, yeah, it helped to depress me. Well, my sentences are in trouble right from the start.
Oh, come on, Kurt, read something to us. Go ahead.
Okay. Gotta get my glasses before I read. All right. Our production company proposes to produce a fashion show. It would be called The Cycle of Fashion. It would document the demand for high fashion designs.
Kurt, can you see why Dr. Carrick suggests techniques for combining?
Norman, I can see why. What I want to know is how.
I think I can tell you how to make one sentence out of your three.
Well, show me. Here.
Okay. How does this sound? Our production company proposes to produce a television program called The Cycle of Fashion to document the demand for high fashion designs.
Hey, that sounds a lot clearer. You know, I thought all this sentence stuff was just pretty petty, but it really does improve style. That's food for thought.
Hey, speaking of food, I'm hungry, but I'm not ready to quit.
Dare I suggest a working lunch?
Done.
Good.
Dare we suggest that it's your turn to get the food?
Oh, wait a minute. Come on, I went out 3 times last week.
No protest. Remember, you're the one who's always talking about how educational shopping can be.
Okay, I give up.
here, I've made a list. There's some extra money here, and I'd like you to pick up something for me.
You want some company, Norm?
Love it. We could talk about your proposal. Who knows? Maybe the supermarket will have a sale on pearls.
The important thing is that you understand why the new sentences are better. By getting rid of the unnecessary phrases, we made the new version clearer.
A lot clearer.
Your original sentences lack variety, but the revised version puts emphasis on what you want to emphasize.
What's first on the list?
French bread. Why don't you get that and meet me in the produce section? You got it. Hey, Kurt. Got the bread.
Oh, yeah.
Great. Kurt, look at this. What do you see?
Dessert.
This package does the same thing for strawberries that sentence patterns can do for ideas in your proposal, or any writing. What is it?
Well, that's not a package at all. It's just a clear piece of plastic. You can see right through it.
Right. This package was designed to reveal its contents, just as a clear sentence makes it easy for the reader to see the ideas of the writer. Ah. See, sentence patterns, they help to clarify, to enhance, to make ideas concrete. So the reader can see things in a fresh, clear way. Sentences are your salesman.
Sentences are my salesman. Well, that's very catchy, Norm. Very catchy. A little dumb, but it's catchy.
Ah, here it is. Lunch for Cassie and Jenny.
Well, they certainly have a lot of variety. They got everything from vanilla to peach. Look, they've even got pina colada. What flavor do they want?
Kurt, you know, variety is another good reason for knowing lots of sentence patterns. It's the spice of good writing.
There we go. Peach for Cassie, blueberry for Jenny.
Well, that's just about it. Let's go get something else for dessert. Right. Oh, how about this?
Oh, well, that's a strange-looking package. I've never seen that before.
Not strange, Kurt. Clever. People usually don't imagine themselves eating a whole cherry pie.
Oh, well, I can imagine myself eating a whole...
Most people want a slice. Now, this product was packaged to attract shoppers that only want a slice and not a whole pie. See, the package is used to emphasize the shape of the content.
Well, sure worked on me. Let's take some. Emphasis, variety, and clarity. You didn't tell me this was going to be a field trip. Is there anything else?
Yeah, there's one more thing for Gwen. Bottle of multivitamins.
Would you like paper or plastic bags today?
Plastic will be fine, thanks. You know, Kurt, this whole packaging idea might make an interesting segment for our script on sentence patterns. When we get back, let's try out on Gwen and the others, huh? Okay. Good.
An experienced writer tries new things. The important point is not just that sentence patterns are packages for ideas, but that the writer has all these options, choices of how to express ideas that consider the needs of his readers.
Fine, Norman. So long as the point is made that no amount of style can cover for a lack of content.
Naturally, Jennifer. Look, even when I was in advertising, I wouldn't take on a product I couldn't believe in.
Well, personally, I found Norm's ideas helpful and delicious. But, Gwen, you haven't touched your vitamins.
I didn't know that you and Norm would bring a script idea back with lunch. But I wanted these vitamins because I believe in them. But they give me another idea. What does this remind you of?
Going over Niagara Falls in a barrel.
Oh, good.
Kurt, I think she means, what do the vitamin pills mean to the people who take them?
Uh-huh.
Oh, you mean like strength?
And vitality and power. And I think that question should be asked and answered in our script.
You mean, what puts power and vitality in writing?
Better yet, what would be in the bottle if the label said Brighter Writer's Vitamins?
I could see it now. A suave, gray-haired writer with pencil behind his ear looks up from an antique typewriter. He takes a bottle from a handy pile of manuscripts. There was a time, he says, when my writing was tired and sluggish. Then I found brighter writers.
Oh, clever Norm. But the question is, what would be in the bottle? Kurt, would you help me with the monitor?
Oh, would I help you with a monitor? Of course I can.
Oh, and the rest of you jot down your ideas for writing better sentences.
What if we don't have any?
We?
What if I don't?
Good. Now, here are ways that Dr. Carrick said you can create more powerful effects with your sentences. I'm sure this is going to be very helpful to you, Cassie. There we go.
Well, there are two things about sentences. One is you have to know what some of the most interesting and most dominant, most frequent patterns are in the language. You have to practice them. You have to be able to form them. But that's not enough. One doesn't go around repeating sentence patterns out of context in some kind of a vacuum. The second thing you have to know and you have to practice, the students have to practice, is learning how to use, how to make those choices, how to use the sentences in context. I think you make these choices as a writer depending on what your rhetorical purpose is. You have a certain goal in mind. That goal might change in the process of writing, but at any given point, the choice of a sentence pattern will be determined by what you are trying to accomplish. For example, take a participial phrase, one of the constructions that we teach students, and it's a kind of construction that's very common in English. A present participial phrase, what is called present participial phrase, what students like to call ing form, is in everybody's repertoire, mental list of constructions. When would you use something like that? Well, there are many uses of a participial phrase, but let me give you an example where the choice of a participial phrase as opposed to something else makes a difference. Take a sentence like, water lifted her body, caressed it, and carried it out to the misty sea. Okay, now compare this to something like, water lifted her body, caressing it, and carried it out to the misty sea. Now, if you think for a moment or try to sense it, there is a difference between saying caressed it on the one hand and caressing it on the other. What's the difference? Well, in the first case, water lifted the body, caressed the body, carried the body. There is a sense of a sequence of three separate actions. In the second case, water lifted her body, caressing it and carried it out. Caressing here appears to be a kind of simultaneous action, simultaneous to lifting. And also the participial phrase gives you a little sense of a longer duration. So it makes a difference when you choose one structure as opposed to another. Then where you put your construction in a sentence makes a lot of difference. How you arrange them. Your sentence has to link up with what precedes, with what follows in that discourse. And then stashed away in the back of your mind, you always have this larger purpose toward which you are writing. Take a sentence like, if local residents are willing to put up with them, nuclear plants are a safe and economical way of producing much needed energy. So if, then. Compare this to something like, nuclear plants are a safe and economical way of producing much needed energy if local residents are willing to put up with them. Now, exactly the same words, exactly the same two clauses, but the message that comes across is very, very different. In the first case, when you have a sentence beginning with the if, the punchline, the emphasis, the stress comes at the end, which says nuclear plants are good. And the little qualification about local residents is kind of stashed away, sort of a secondary observation. But if you put that if clause at the end, then that's what sticks in the reader's mind. And so the message there is, wait a minute, maybe nuclear plants can produce energy, but are local residents really willing to put up with them? So how you arrange your sentences, clauses within a sentence, it has a lot to do with your rhetorical purpose, and the message that comes across very often unconsciously to the reader is going to be very different in each case.
Well, between Dr. Carrick and the supermarket, we're getting a pretty good collection of ideas. Before you read what you've written, Dr. Carrick refers to interesting and dominant sentence patterns.
You mean
What
like
are some of those?
in German?
German?
Yeah. You know, in German, the verb comes at the end of the sentence.
I didn't know that.
Kurt, I don't think that's what Dr. Carrick was referring to. He was referring to patterns that sentences may take to create specific effects.
For people who speak English. German. You killed me, Kurt.
What kind of patterns are you talking about?
I think what Carrick meant was that you have certain choices based on the effect you want to create. Patterns are choices.
Well, Jenny, what kind of choices are you talking about?
Well, some patterns speed the pace, some slow it down, some personalize your writing, some depersonalize it.
Some make your writing more formal, some more familiar.
Some do this, some do that. Come on, come on.
Okay, let's take a sentence in the form of a question.
Okay.
Who will be this year's fashion leader? Now, does that question pattern do anything?
Well, it makes me want to know more.
So, in your essay, your reader would want to read on to find an answer.
And suppose the sentence right after Jenny's question, who will be this year's fashion leader, was no one will. What does that do for you?
Well, that really grabs my attention.
Because it's a complete contrast in both thought and rhythm.
It's short and it's forceful.
I never noticed.
Well, have you ever noticed how a sentence can balance a highlighted thought? It can be thoughtful and formal.
No, I never noticed.
Yeah, try this one. Consumers must learn that it is not their money or their power that makes them fashionable, nor is it their lack of funds or authority that makes them dull.
Very formal and balanced. Kurt?
Oh, I noticed. Yeah, finally. I noticed.
Kurt, the whole point to our script is that beginner writers need to notice, really consider how sentences are formed and what effects they have.
I think I'm beginning to understand.
Good. Talking of effects, Norm, what have you come up with to increase the power of sentences?
I try to use words and phrases that create images for in my reader's mind.
Good. Concrete subjects. How about an example for Kurt?
Okay. An explosion of flashbulbs rings the whirling model.
Ooh, that's full of good images, and I think I have its twin. I try to use verbs that are bold and colorful.
Yes, active verbs go extremely well with concrete subjects. Example?
High fashion arrests the wandering eye and captures the slackest attention.
Excellent. Cassie?
I use long sentences to leave an indelible impression.
Dum-da-dum-dum.
What's wrong with
Well,
that?
Cassie, a long sentence is sometimes a mature sentence, but the whole point of this script is that we writers impress our readers with a variety of sentences. Different lengths for different effects.
Oh, so I should have said, I use a variety of sentences to make different points.
That's it. It's the combination of several sentence patterns that makes for a mature style.
Well, I am a little less confused, but couldn't you all just help me rewrite the introduction to my
The only way
proposal?
to learn is...
To do it, I know, but look, I do want to be able to write better, really, I do, but my head is just so
Now
crammed
you've
with...
got the principles, now it's time to apply them. You can read as your introduction, and we'll all try and help.
That's great, but I'm beginning to feel a little weak.
First, let's take 5. That'll give you some time to brace yourself for the trial.
The trial? Oh, Norm, you really know how to make a person feel relaxed.
Oh, cheer up, Kurt. Remember, there's no solution for weak and wobbly writers. Like brighter writers.
Sorry I'm late, Kurt. I've got to remind myself to get up and walk around every now and then. You know, legs are the first thing to go in a writer.
Speak for yourself, ancient one.
Today, Jennifer, I speak for Kurt.
Norman, speaking isn't my problem. Writing is my problem.
But speaking well is an advantage, Kurt. Now, granted, writing and speaking are different, but your speaking ability can be translated to your writing.
Get out your work, Kurt.
I am beginning to look on this as evidence against myself.
Come on, Kurt, the jury's still out. Read us one of your condemned introductions.
Okay. This is probably the clearest of the bunch. The cycle of fashion. The world of fashion is exciting. Fashion designers set trends. The trends influence shoppers. Our show will explore this...
Boy.
Well, what's the matter? I thought sometimes a short sentence got attention and added
Well,
emphasis.
that's true, Kurt. A short sentence can have impact.
But the key word is sometimes. That intro of yours is like a tom-tom. Look, if you string several short sentences together with the same pattern, you put your readers to sleep when you want to wake them up.
Different sentence lengths create different effects. The length of your sentence depends on your purpose and your audience.
It's really your ability to create different kinds of sentences. Long ones, short ones, simple ones, complex ones that matters.
Choppy sentences like that could turn your readers off right from the beginning.
So what am I supposed to do?
You heard what Dr. Carrick said. Combine some of your sentences so that the most important points are emphasized. Here, I'll show you. It's just a matter of orchestration. Using all the instruments. Cassie, would you be the brass section, please? The first sentence was, the world of fashion is exciting.
You mean like this, fashion catches the eye and turns heads with a whirl of accents and color.
Yes, much more concrete and plenty of action. Now, Jenny, violins for fashion designers set trends. The trends influence shoppers.
Fashion designers set trends that influence shoppers.
Yes. Now, Gwen, woodwinds, please. Shoppers create demands.
Shoppers influenced by these trends create a clamor for fashion.
Subordination and internal connection. Much more active. Now, the thesis, Jenny. Our show will explore the cycle.
With flair and excitement, the cycle of fashion will document the completed circle of design and demand.
Now, all together.
Fashion catches the eye and turns heads with a whirl of accents and color.
Fashion designers create trends that influence shoppers.
Shoppers influenced by these trends create a clamor for fashion.
With flair and excitement, the cycle of fashion will document the completed circle of design and demand.
Bravissimo. But, you know, I'm still learning about this process myself, but one thing comes through loud and clear.
You mean with emphasis and clarity?
Oh, exactly. To communicate, a writer has to match up audience, purpose, and occasion. They also have to write with clarity.
With emphasis and with the ability to create a variety of sentences.
Speaking of sentences, is the jury returned yet?
You never left, Kurt. You're your own judge and jury.
In that case, I condemn this to Waldo. I knew it won't work. Of course, I knew it wouldn't work yesterday, but now I know why it won't work. So I sentence myself to return to my office and rehabilitate my proposal.
Sounds like a long stretch in solitary, Kurt.
I don't think so, Norm. Thanks to all of you, I think I know what to do and how to do it. And it'll be a pearl.
Oh.